quest had begun. Neil showed his knights every thrust and parry.
He would count out the steps for us, tell us how many steps to take. If we were, for example, if I was playing right half position and was going to block out somebody, I would take so many steps this way and then come back like to my left to block the opponent, and the runner would run around behind us. And we did this to perfection.
Gormy wasn't at practice, he was in practice, throwing men down and showing them what to do. He introduced his men to planned sequences by the offense, drilling them on balance, blocking, and faking. It was straightforward ball which took them straight down the field to a 7-1 record the next year. It was, many believed, the best the team could do, the best they could be. Neil had taught summer camp with Pete Vaughn, coach of the Little Giants, and Newt Rockney, coach of the Fighting Irish. He showed his team how to play with their heads as well as any Irishman. But for Gormy, that wasn't enough. A man can't find the Holy Grail with a detailed map, but no faith.
Every Sunday morning after the game, he made a tour of the campus, visiting everybody who had been in the game to see if they were all right. And if you weren't, he personally took you down to the training room and saw to it that you were treated right away Sunday morning.
Checking on his men was Gormy's religion, the extra concern which gave his team heart, and lo and behold, a miracle occurred. In the first game of the 1933 season, Ball State tried for a field goal. The snap went back, the kick went off, but it was blocked. DePauw captain George Lortz scooped up the ball on the 1-yard line and scampered 99 yards for the first touchdown of what would become the great shutout season.
Gormy was strong on defense. We didn't just always, break out and score all over the place. We waited, and you got a break, and you scored. In the meantime, you didn't let the other guy score.
In fact, they didn't let the other guys move. When playing the 33 team, you could wave at your end zone, but never really say hello. And in the middle of your wave, you were stuffed. The season score, DePauw 136, everybody else, 0.
We didn't realize that for 60 years we'd be talking about it, or that we would have a team that was molded together then so that we are sort of like a family. And we didn't realize at first how significant this was in terms of total football.
These were the heroes of the miracle season, undefeated, untied, unscored upon, champions. The unbelievable 1933 season was almost repeated in 1934, when the Tigers shut out their first 5 opponents until they gave up 1 touchdown while whipping Georgetown 46-6. There were many, many more winning afternoons, Saturdays and Sundays, when moms, dads, girlfriends, and buddies tramped down to the field with sweaters, hot cocoa, and hope, watching their boys become men. As they all learned the lesson of author James Michener, who said, "Character consists of what you do on the 3rd and 4th tries." The fans knew one thing as they rose from their chairs cheering: these young men had character. To honor their fighting spirit, in 1941, Mrs. Ira Blackstock donated $80,000 to build a stadium, press box included. This homestead of the Tigers, Blackstock Stadium, has become as much a part of the winning tradition as the fans themselves. But all too soon, these afternoons would be shattered by a far more deadly combat. As World War II roared overseas, young men were called to battle. In particular, one Robert Stuber, an All-American from the University of Missouri, who was recruited by the Chicago Bears just before being drafted by the Navy. He then came to DePauw University, which served as a home and training camp for Naval Air Corps cadets.
And we no sooner got into our barracks than a call came out on the bullhorn to report downstairs. And we went downstairs, and they called by name each of the fellows that had played football in college. And they took us right out to the stadium. We met Gormy and Neil, and they issued a uniform, and that was it. We played ball.
Stuber and the Navy players would arrive in time for the second game of the season, missing a tie against Oberlin in the season opener. After only 2 days of practice, Stuber led the Tigers to a 50-0 win over Illinois Normal. In his first Old Gold homecoming game, Stuber would rack up 255 all-purpose yards and 25 points on 4 touchdowns. He would go on to become the country's leading scorer that year. When the Wabash Cavemen were eaten alive 33-0, they refused to come back for more.
A lot of glory was heaped upon me because I was making the touchdowns. But you know there's 10 other people there that got to be in the way of somebody else to get you to that point where you can do it.
Averaging 34 points per game, the powerhouse Tigers challenged Indiana and Purdue, who wouldn't risk their records by losing a game to a smaller school like DePauw. Always the gentleman, Coach Neal would play his first string for only 40 minutes. This kept the score below 50, allowing other teams to save face. The blowout continued with a season score of DePauw 206, everybody else 6.
Domney welded it into really a fine organization. One of the finest gentlemen I've ever known in my life, and I say that sincerely.